So hello everyone, I'm going to talk about the summary for the chapter 5. So the chapter 5. First of all, I'm going to discuss the internet encapsulation. Internet is most widely used LAN technology today. As usual, there Ethernet is different from internet. So there are Ethernet in the schools, homes, or office. Ethernet operates in the data link layer and physical layer. It is a family of networking technology that are defined as the IEEE 802.2 and IN 802.3. So, Ethernet standard define both the layer 2 protocols and the layer 1 technologies. For the layer 2 protocols, as with all 802 IEEE standards, Ethernet relies on the two separate sublayers of the data link layer to operate the logical link controller LCC and the MAC sublayer. So, what is LCC or LLC? I mean, sublayer. The Ethernet LLC sublayer handles the communication between the upper layers and the lower layers. This is typically between the network software and the device hardware. The LLC sublayer takes the network protocol data, which is typically as IPv4 packet and adds control information to help deliver the packet to the destination node. The MAC sublayer. So what is the MAC sublayer? MAC's con- MAC is constitute the lower sublayer of the data link layer. MAC is implemented by hardware, typically the computer and IC. So for the Mac, it's typically for the computer and IC. The Mac sublayer. The Ethernet Mac sublayer has two primary responsibilities. So Mac sublayer have two primary responsibilities, which are those two. Those two are the data encapsulation and the second one is the media access control. The data encapsulation process includes frame assembly before transmission and frame disassembly upon reception of a frame. Then the media control. The second responsibility of the MAC sublayer is the media access control. And media access control is responsible for the placement of the frames on the media and the removal of the frames from the media. Ethernet evolution. So how Ethernet evolved? Since the creation of Ethernet in 1973, standards have evolved from a specifically faster and more flexible version of the technology. The ability for Ethernet to improve over time is one of the main reasons it has become so popular. Every version of Ethernet were relatively shown at 10 Mbps. The latest version of Ethernet operates at 10 gigabits per second and faster. So now Ethernet are now operating faster and faster. S- Ethernet 2 is the Ethernet frame format used in the TCP or IP network. So the Ethernet 2 is the Ethernet frame format in the TCP and or IP networks. Then Ethernet frame fields. The minimum Ethernet frame size is 64 bytes and the maximum is 1518 bytes. This includes all bytes from the destination MAC address field through the frame check sequence of FCS field. Any frame less than 64 in length is considered a collision fragment. So remember, collision fragment is the any frame that is less than 64 bytes in length, or it can be called a runt frame. and is automatically disregarded and by the receiving station. Frames with more than 1,500 bytes of data are considered jumbo or baby giant frames. So, if the bytes are less than 64, called collision frame or fragment or runt frame. If a bytes or data of data is higher than 1,500, then it's considered or called as jumbo or baby giant frames. Then next, I will going to discuss the MAC address and hexadecimal. If you were going to if if you know what is hexadecimal, of course hexadecimal is I learned it on my math where hexadecimal is has a 16 bytes, 16 bits. What MAC address in hexadecimal. An Ethernet MAC address is 48-bit binary valued expressed as 12 hexadecimal digits. Just the decimals in base 10 number system. Hexadecimal is base 16 system as I said before. Its hexadecimals is base 16. The base 16 number system use the number 0 to 9 and the letters A to F. Given the 8 bits, it's common binary grouping. Binary 0000, 8 zeros and 8 ones can be represented in hexadecimal as the range 00 to FF. It is important to distinguish hexadecimal values from decimal values regarding the character 0 to 9 as shown as I tell. Representing hexadecimal value. Hexadecimal is usually represented in text that values preceded by OX or subject 16 less commonly. It may be followed by a H. However, because subscript text is not recognized in common line of programming environments. Now, I'm going to tell about the MAC address Ethernet identity. In Ethernet, every network device is connected in the same shared media. Ethernet was once predominantly a half-duplex topology used seeing a multi-access bus or later Ethernet hub. This means that all nodes would receive every frame transmitted. To remove the excessive overhead involved in the process of every frame, MAC addresses were created to identify the actual source and destination. Next is the MAC address structure. The MAC address structure values are directly result of IEEE enforced rules for vendors to ensure globally unique addresses for each Ethernet devices. It is possible for duplicate MAC address to exist due to mistake during the manufacturing in some virtual machines implementation method. In either case, it will be necessary to modify the MAC address with the new NIC or in software. Next is the what we call the framing process. So what is framing process? The MAC address is often referred to as a bonded in address or BIA because historically this address is burned into ROM. What is ROM? ROM is the read-only memory on the NIC. This means that address encoded into the ROM chips permanently. On modern PC operating system and NICs, it is possible to exchange the MAC address in software. This is useful when attempting to gain access to network that filter based on the BIA. Consequently, filtering or controlling traffic based on the MAC address is no longer secure. And Ethernet NICs will accept frame of destination MAC address. It's a broadcast of the multitask group of which the host is a member. MAC addressing representation. On a window host. The ipconfig or all command can be used to identify the MAC address of Ethernet adapter. Depending on the device and operating system, you will see various representation of MAC address. Yes, you will see for various representation MAC address. Then next is the unicast MAC address. Unicast means one. In Ethernet, different MAC addresses are used for layer 2, unicast, broadcast, and multicast communication. Unicast is for the one-to-one communication. Broadcast is for one to all or all to all. And multicast is for one to group. A unicast MAC address is the unique address used when a frame is sent from a single transmitting device to a single destination device. So, as I said, it is one-to-one. The process that the source host uses to determine the destination MAC address is known as Address Resolution Protocol, ARPs, or what we call ARP. Broadcast MAC address. So, for broadcast, it is means that it is for all. A broadcast packet contains a destination IPv4 address that is all done in host portion. The numbering in address means um, that all hosts on the local network will receive the packet. Many network protocols such as DHCP and ARP use broadcast. Then the multicast MAC address. Multicast addresses allows a devices to send a packet to a group to a group of devices. As I said, in a multicast is sending to the group. Devices that belong to the multicast group are assigned as multicast group IP address. The range of IPv4 multicast address is 224.0.0.0 to 239.255.255.255. Multicast addresses would be used in remoting gaming where many players are connected remotely by playing the same game. Then the switch fundamentals. A layer 2 Ethernet switch uses MAC address to make forwarding decision. It is a completely unaware of the protocols being carried in the data portion of the frame. The switch makes its forwarding decisions based on the layer 2 Ethernet MAC address. The MAC address able is sometimes referred to as a content addressable memory or table, while the CAM table is fairly common for the purposes of this purposes will refer to the MAC address table. Then this chapter 5 is somewhat focusing with the MAC address, the filtering frame. As a switch receives frames from different devices, it is able to populate its MAC address table by examining the source MAC address of every frame. When the switch MAC address table contains the destination MAC address, it is able to filter the frames and forward out a single port. And frame forwarding method as um, switch use one of the following forwarding method for switching data between network and force. This is the store and forward switching and cut through switch. Destination remote network. So what is destination remote network? When the destination IP address on a remote network, the destination MAC address will be the address of the host default gateway. The router NIC or the router NIC. Using a postal analogy, this will be similar to the person taking a letter to their local post office. So that was the and what is ARP? When packet is sent to the data link layer to be established into internet frame, the device is referred to a table in the memory to find the MAC address is mapped in the IPv4 address. This table is called ARP or the table ARP table or ARP cache. The ARP table is stored in the RAM of the devices. So so that's my summary for this chapter, the chapter 5. So thank